I really enjoy that cup of coffee before I go out and do my run. Well, I'm Dangerous Runner. I'm Ralph. So a bit of trivia for you. At one time, caffeine was considered a banned substance by the World Doping Association. In other words, elite athletes cannot have caffeine. Well, they couldn't have too much caffeine. I don't think it was a zero tolerance, but they certainly limited the amount of caffeine they could have. Then in 2004, they took it off the ban list. They said it wasn't that significant of a performance enhancer. And I kind of disagree with that. Not that I think they should ban it, but I think it can help improve a lot of athletes' performance, and athletes use it today, and I use it today, and maybe you do also. So today I want to talk about how caffeine affects your running, how it can help you, and also some of the considerations you need to be careful about in using caffeine. So caffeine is a stimulant. It's in the same kind of category as amphetamines and cocaine, only a much lesser degree, of course. It's nothing like those. And there are study after study that shows where they compare athletes with or without caffeine, where the athletes who use caffeine show improved performance, whether they go faster or can last longer. There's no question in the athletic community that caffeine improves athletic performance. And there's not a lot of studies to say that it degrades performance either. I'm talking about using caffeine within moderate levels. Obviously, you can have too much of a good thing. You can abuse caffeine and get too much and cause all kinds of physical problems. In fact, myself, I have to limit the amount of caffeine I ingest in a day, or I'll start feeling it in my heart and my nervousness and things like that. So you do have to be careful with the caffeine, and we'll talk about a few of the things to be watchful for a little later in this video. But let's talk about how caffeine can help improve your running experience. So caffeine is a stimulant. It's considered ergogenic, which means it improves performance. So one of the ways it does that is through something called a metabolic theory. The belief is that the caffeine, as it permeates through the cells, improves the utilization of fat while lowering the utilization of carbohydrates. And since your body burns fats much slower, those fats stay in your bloodstream and gives you more energy for a longer period of time. So in theory, caffeine should help your endurance running, should allow you to run longer, harder, for longer periods of time through that utilization of burning a little more fat. Now, the second way caffeine can help you is there's information that says it can increase the calcium content in your skeleton. That would help you with power and muscle contraction. For example, if you lift weights, it should help you lift weights more repetitions, things like that. If you're a runner, it would help you with sprinting or running up hills. So you get two benefits right there from caffeine physically, and that's the burning of the fat and helping with muscle contraction. Now, the third way, of course, is the nervous system. You know, if you drink too much caffeine, if I do, you feel nervous. So caffeine can improve your alertness, can minimize the effects of fatigue, can help you think a little clearer. You know, if you want to be clear-headed, you know, a little caffeine can help that. So you get a couple of physical benefits and you get that mental alertness benefit. So there's a lot of benefits to using caffeine. So when I talk about using caffeine, I'm assuming you already use it. I am not suggesting if you don't use caffeine that you start using it. But if you decide to, you need to be very careful. I'll put some links down below about some of the things to watch out for with caffeine. And certainly if you have any underlying medical conditions, talk to your doctor. You know, caffeine can affect heart rate. It can affect, you know, bowel movements and things like that. So you do want to be careful if you're not using caffeine. But if you already are, you're already getting some performance benefit. So what's a good amount of caffeine? Is there a good amount or a bad amount? Well, there's probably a bad amount. You can get way too much. But kind of the level generally considered moderate is 3 to 6 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight. So let me put that into pounds for you. That's about 1.4 to 2.7 milligrams of caffeine per pound of body weight. So a guy like me, well, on average, that's about 2. So 2 milligrams per pound of body weight. So a guy like me, that I was 190 pounds, that's 380 milligrams of caffeine. I tell you, I'm not going to do 380 milligrams of caffeine before I go out and do a run. But if you look at the low end of that range, at the 1.4 milligrams per pound of body weight, that calculates out to about 260, 270 milligrams of caffeine for me at 190 pounds. That's not too unreasonable. That's probably maybe 2 cups of coffee. So I did an experiment today. I decided I would have a little more caffeine for my long run. I normally drink a cup of coffee. For me, a cup is about 12 ounces, and then go out and I'll do my running. Today, I decided to add a little bit to that. So I drank maybe maybe more like, instead of 12 ounces, maybe 18 to 20 ounces when I did my long run. And I would say for the first hour, or the first half of the long run, I ran for about 2 hours. I felt really good. I felt energized. I felt like it was a lot easier to run. The second hour, it didn't feel bad. It felt, maybe more like my normal long run, but I would say I definitely saw a benefit in increasing my caffeine level for my long run today of a little over about 8.5 miles. So I did my one-off experiment and can validate that increased caffeine levels, at least for me, could help my athletic performance. So you may be wondering, how long does caffeine last? And that's where we get into a little principle called half-life. And that's the amount of time it takes any substance in your body to be reduced in half. Notice, how long does it take your body to metabolize it so that the final amount is half the beginning amount. So for caffeine, that's about 5 to 6 hours on average. So what that means is if you ingest 100 milligrams now, it'll take about 5 or 6 hours before that 100 milligram is reduced to 50 in your body and your bloodstream. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into half-life, your body metabolism, how active you are. If I'm out running, I'm probably metabolizing that caffeine a little faster, so the half-life may be less than 5 or 6 hours. And I couldn't find any information to give me caffeine half-life under those kinds of conditions. But it will wear off, but it's not a really quick thing. So if you're going to go out and run for an hour or 2 hours, probably going to see the benefit of the caffeine throughout that time period. Now, I mentioned earlier that I thought the second half of my run didn't feel as good as the first half, but at the end of the day, at the end of my run, I still felt pretty good. So I think I got the benefits throughout my run. I just felt it more in the first half than the second half. Now, you often hear that caffeine's a diuretic, and that may be true, but the Mayo Clinic says, don't worry about that. It's such a slight impact. You're not going to get dehydrated from drinking caffeine. However, too much caffeine can cause other issues. You can get a headache. You can get heart palpitations. It's mildly like a laxative, so you might find yourself having to go to the bathroom in the middle of your run. So you do need to be careful how much caffeine, and I can't tell you how much you can have or tolerate. It's an individual thing. As I said, I have to limit mine or I'll start getting heart palpitations and things like that. But I like caffeine and I use it. Now, one thing to be mindful of is do not use caffeine to avoid fatigue. If you're using caffeine to avoid fatigue, you might risk an injury or overuse because you don't perceive the fatigue, and therefore you could hurt yourself, overtrain, make yourself too tired at the end of the day. So don't use it as a crutch for fatigue, but it certainly can help you with your performance, running longer, running easier, feeling better during your run. At least that's been my experience. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please scroll down and hit that like icon. And if you're new here, I'd love to have you stick around. Please hit that subscribe button also. Thanks again and happy running.